All right, Ben, you ready? I'd like to please call to order the Board of Education meeting for Saline area schools for August 23rd, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. If we could all please rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a small but lean crew this evening and some expected absences this evening. Moving to superintendent message. Dr. Latch? Okay, we're gonna delete that one. This is our first opportunity for public comment. Betty, do we have any public comment forms? Well, this is going to be an efficient meeting, isn't it? So I just acknowledge that there were no forms for students or community members turned in. Moving on to extended public comment, we have two that were requested and approved for this evening. So if I could welcome Brian, Teresa, Bridget, and Mike to the podium to discuss the Return to School and Saline Community Partnership. And friends. And friends. No problem. I know it's a really, really busy time for you right now. Whenever you're ready, just toggle the mic on. Laura knows how to do it.
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you for granting us the opportunity to address not only the board, but the community as well. Here tonight is Bridget Corey, Brian Bose, representing the Saline Education Association, myself and Carol Melcher, representing SASA, and Bridget will be representing ESP as well. Tomorrow morning, all Saline area schools, educators, administration, and staff will officially kick off the start of the 22-23 school year. Hundreds of hours have already been devoted to preparing for the start of the year. It takes all of us, and what we accomplish in a day is quite astounding.
As president and vice president of the Teachers Union, we are extremely proud to represent an incredibly talented staff. They have worked hard all summer. It's been a challenging couple of years, but our staff has worked really hard to do a lot of amazing things, from obviously teaching young kids to read, to amazing AP test scores, to excelling in Science Olympiad and robotics and on the field and on the track. Our staff continues to go above and beyond, and moving into this year as we go into a brand new school year, we're really hoping we can have all the support of the community. It takes a whole team effort to be successful. Our community and our district has always had a great relationship in educating kids here in Saline, and we are really counting on it to continue this year.
And I'm standing in for Mike Puckett. He could not be here today, so on behalf of his group, the ESP. They really are the glue that holds us all together. They represent the bus drivers, cafeteria workers, custodial staff, grounds, paraeducators, literacy and English language tutors, and others in both instructional and facility maintenance. Every staff member takes great pride in the work that they do to keep Saline area schools safe. You can see that when you walk into the buildings. They care deeply. They're also community members. They care about what it looks like. They want it safe. They want it clean, and they also want to connect with students. As I say, safety is their number one priority, and just like the SEA, they want nothing but the best for our students. They build and foster relationships and a community of strong learners and leaders.
Thank you. Carol Melcher on behalf of the Saline Administrators Association. We are a very small 14-member leadership team, united in mission and vision, and also in our devotion and dedication to adhering to high standards for ourselves and those that we serve. We stand in unity with the SEA membership and the ESP members in our collective commitment to excellence at all times. We lead with passion and with a shared obligation to the Saline compass. We don't take that compass lightly, we own it. It goes without saying that we cannot do this work alone. We need and we appreciate your support at home and in the community. The passage of the upcoming bond renewal is a key component to maintaining and upgrading the excellent facilities, technologies, and classroom spaces that we all enjoy. Won't you please join us in sharing the message to get out and vote on November 8th? Thank you for your trust and your support. This business of educating children is truly a shared partnership that instills in everyone an excitement for lifelong learning. Thank you for participating with us in this journey.
For many of us, we also call Saline home. We are honored to work and live in this community, and we are committed to keeping Saline's stellar reputation of excellence at the forefront of all that we do. We promise to take care of your most valuable assets, our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. We appreciate you being here. If somebody could please email, if you're comfortable emailing that statement, so our trustees that couldn't be here this evening and Allison can read it, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much. Our next extended public comment, we have Moms Demand Action. We have Susie Treber. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, thank you.
Treber and Monique Hunter on gun safety. Whenever you ladies are ready.
Okay, hi, I'm Susie Treber, and I am a resident of Saline, and I have 5 daughters who graduated from Saline, one who is currently a teacher, and I've been a volunteer for Moms Demand Action for about 4 years, and this is a group that advocates for gun safety.
Hi, I'm Monique Hunter. I'm a Saline resident. I've had 3 children graduate from Saline schools. I've been a volunteer with Moms Demand Action for about 6 years. So we're here tonight to request that Saline School Board pass a resolution in support of gun safety and safe gun storage. One of the programs that Moms Demand Action promotes is called Be Smart, and it ties in with why we're here tonight. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that program. Be Smart is a national campaign to educate adults on the importance of safe gun storage. Be Smart volunteers provide free presentations on safe gun storage to adult groups at schools and throughout the community. We do not endorse nor condemn owning guns, but focus on safe gun practices. We encourage adults to follow 5 steps to help protect children from guns. Secure guns in your homes and vehicles. Model responsible behavior around guns. Ask about unsecured guns in other homes, and recognize the roles of guns in suicide, and tell your peers to be smart. So what exactly is safe gun storage? Firearms should be locked and unloaded with ammunition locked separately and no access to keys or opening devices by minors. This is the recommendation from the Michigan State Police, the University of Michigan Institute for Firearm Injury Prevention, and the American Academy of Pediatrics. And these recommendations are the ones that the Be Smart program teaches. We have several supporters and partnerships with the Be Smart program, including the Michigan State Police Office of School Safety, the Michigan PTA, the Michigan Education Association, and the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency, and all of these organizations have links to the Be Smart program on their webpage. We also have Be Smart programs in the community. On September 8th at 7 o'clock, there's a Zoom presentation, and on September 19th at 6:30, there's an in-person presentation in Milan, and we can get information if you're interested in seeing those. So why are Be Smart volunteers asking schools to pass resolutions to support gun safety? Firearms are the leading cause of death for American children and teens. In the past 5 years, an average of 3,500 children and teens have been shot and killed every year, and another 15,000 were injured. There were approximately 49,000 gun deaths in 2021 of all ages, which is the highest number to date in U.S. history. Every year, nearly 700 children under the age of 17 die by suicide with a gun, most often using a gun belonging to a family member. And this number has increased 59% over the past decade. Every year, nearly 350 children under the age of 18 unintentionally shoot themselves or someone else. In 2021, there were 392 unintentional shootings, resulting in 163 deaths. An estimated 4.6 million American children live in homes with guns that are both loaded and unlocked. An estimated 54% of gun owners don't lock all of their guns securely. In 2022, there were at least 102 incidents of gunfire in school grounds, resulting in 41 deaths and 79 injuries. In 2021, there were 202 incidents of gunfire on school grounds, resulting in 49 deaths and 126 injuries. In 75% of school shootings where the shooter was under the age of 18, the firearm was obtained from their own home or the house of a relative or friend. Research shows that storing guns properly plays a vital role in reducing the risk of gun violence, particularly among children due to unintentional shootings and gun suicides. One study found that households that locked both firearms and ammunition were associated with a 78% lower risk of self-inflicted firearm injuries and an 85% lower risk of unintentional firearm injuries among children compared to those that locked neither.
So what would the resolution contain? The whereas clauses would acknowledge that gun violence is a problem, possibly giving some statistics with that. It would acknowledge that storing guns securely is an essential part of reducing gun deaths among children and keeping schools safe. And it would specify that safe storage means storing guns locked and unloaded with ammunition locked separately and no access to keys or opening devices from minors. And then the resolved clauses. This first one specifically is like one of the key reasons that why we're here and what we're asking for, so might want to put a star by that one. It would specify that the school board would inform parents and guardians and staff annually about the importance of safe gun storage and require a signature or a check mark that they have reviewed the safe gun storage recommendations. So examples of the way that the school board could get this information to parents would be possibly like in annual school registration papers that go out or in the school handbook. And I know some of that might be too late to do this year, but it could be possibly added next year. And parents don't need to necessarily agree with our recommendations, just acknowledge that they reviewed them. And it would also specify that the school board will continue to work with local law enforcement, medical and mental health agencies, and nonprofit groups like ourselves to collaborate and bring ideas to parents and guardians and staff about safe gun practices. So some examples of the way the school board can bring safe gun practices to parents and adults beyond the gun safety resolution. I've listed some examples here, and I just want to specify that these would not be things that would be included in the resolution, but these are some ideas that would fulfill that last statement about in the resolve clauses where it says that you would continue to collaborate with other groups to bring more information to the parents. These ideas would fulfill that part. So some ideas could be to update the district and school websites to include information about safe gun storage. So for example, the website could contain the Be Smart link, which incidentally, as Monique said, is also already listed at the Michigan State Police. Some of those other ones that were on page 1. It could include Be Smart articles, infographics, public service announcement on safe gun practices, which are all found at the Be Smart website. Some of the examples of the Be Smart articles that could be included are talking to your children about guns, asking about secure gun storage, which is how do you talk to other parents when your child's going for a play date to make sure that their guns are stored securely, and keeping your home safe. University of Michigan has a great infographic about keeping children safe, which basically emphasizes the same 5 steps that we've talked about. And I'm going to leave you a copy of these articles and Michigan's infographic tonight. And perhaps Saline could do their own public service announcement. Plymouth Canton Schools Resource Officer has one on their website. I listed the link there that you could check out. And then in addition to adding things to the school website, we could offer Be Smart presentations to parent-teacher conferences, at open houses, PTA meetings, things like that. And we could, or the school could send home Be Smart cards, which I'm attaching one here, and other information sheets. Be Smart volunteers could do tabling at conferences and open house, and we hand out free locks at these tabling events, and cards and pencils and stuff like that. And I think another really nice thing that the school could do would be to send out a reminder to parents about safe gun storage during Gun Violence Awareness Month in June. And we, as Be Smart volunteers, would be glad to help implement all those things. So you might be wondering, who has passed a resolution in support of gun safety? This summer, the Michigan PTA adopted a resolution, and as of July 22, 10 school districts in Michigan have passed the resolution, which I've included here. And after I printed out this paper, I heard from our state lead that 21 states have now passed resolutions, or have some schools within them that have passed gun safety resolutions. So finally, I'm going to leave you with some examples of what actual resolutions look like that other schools have passed, and also some letters that could be considered to send to parents. We would be more than happy to draw up a draft for Saline to use as a resolution, or work alongside some administrators to come up with something. But I did want to just go ahead and give you some samples to get you started. And as I said, there are some 2 letters too that could be used to get your mind thinking about, well, how could we notify parents about this? That is pretty much it. We are thankful that you had us here this evening, and we look forward to answering any questions you have outside of the meeting and working with you to help keep Saline schools safe. Thank you. Who could I give this to?
You could bring it up to Steve if that's
Okay.
okay. Yeah. Thank you, ladies. We appreciate your presentation. Moving on in a response to previous public comment, I would actually reply to these. So at the request of Susie and Monique, electronic copies of the PDF have been distributed to all of our Board of Education trustees, as well as Dr. Lodge, and Dr. Lodge has invited them to the next district parent council meeting as well to discuss gun safety with our PTA and PTO leaders. So thank you very much. And would also like to acknowledge our guests from our 3 unions and thank them for being here and their words about truly being stronger together. Thank you very much. Moving on to our agenda, revisions or approval of the agenda. Items may be added or deleted from the meeting agenda, and or the order of items may be changed at the request of an individual board member or the superintendent. The agendas must be approved before proceeding further. I'd like to please entertain a motion to approve the agenda as revised with the removal of discussion item A, policy committee meeting update, because it was canceled for yesterday. For today, that's right, Jenny, thank you. It was canceled for today.
Motion, Gerby.
Brad, thank you. Michael, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. I'm probably gonna say 7 at one point, right? Moving on to our only scheduled report of the evening, our bond proposal, Dr. Lodge.
And I'm joined with our Executive Director of Communications and Community Relations, Anna Brittenell, who's been doing a very, very nice job with a lot of our materials as it relates to this bond proposal. And so we're going to just begin with the pursuit of excellence. We talk, really this has been a slogan of the school district for years, and it really hasn't changed. for us to remain an excellent school district and continue to offer first-rate programs for our students and first-rate facilities, we are going to talk tonight about the importance of this bond proposal moving forward. Just in terms of the actual key dates, the actual November 8th is the actual election date. However, we are very aware that the absentee ballot distribution begins on September 29th. So it is important for us to get materials out to the community ahead of the absentee ballot distribution. And so you will see a lot of our communication efforts happening between now and September 29th moving forward. Anna's going to talk a little bit about what we've done as it relates to the progression of this bond.
Yeah, I'll just use this one. That's okay. So yeah, you've kind of been along for the ride the entire time. In February through April, we held stakeholder focus groups. We partnered with, obviously, Clark Construction and King Scott to run our MRA market surveys, which I think we surveyed over the phone 400 different people in the community, and between those two things, refined what became the bond today. In April, the team got together and really put together a scope. We came to you in May to present what that scope looked like. You had a couple weeks to review it and then gave us our final approval on May 24th. Fast forward to now, August, we finalized the campaign. We are, like I mentioned in the last meeting, we are working with legal daily, almost hourly, to get everything approved, and they've been great about responding quickly and letting us know what we can and cannot print and put out there. So like Dr. Lotch mentioned, from September to November will be the campaign with a heavy emphasis on the next 6 weeks before the absentees become available. November 8th is the election day, and then a projected start date of summer of 2023 if the bond were to pass.
As it relates to how we've used future bonds to help support the district, if we back up to 2000, that's when we did the Harvest Elementary and Saline High School campus, along with this addition of band and choir room at Heritage Elementary. And that shows the progression of, older buildings coming in new, and you start to see the progression of from then, working on Pleasant Ridge and some of the other buildings that progress, and we need to continue with that path so we keep our facilities to be first rate. As it relates to the latest bond issuance, the theme of safe, warm, and dry in 2015, this is when we upgraded all the facilities with secure vestibules and the lockdown access controls. And this is new roofs, boilers, HVAC systems, chillers, and we're still finishing up that series as it relates to the middle school. We're finishing up with boilers and such there. So it's important that we continue along this trajectory, and the community has been overwhelmingly supportive of us doing that thus far.
We reviewed a little bit of this last time, but we have partnered with a construction manager, Clark, and the architect, King Scott. The facility assessments are all done. We've contracted our surveys and then facilitated community focus groups. The part in the campaign now is where we're circling back with all those groups. We met with over 150 different constituents in that time period, students, staff, community members, coaches, advisors, all of that. And so now we're circling back with them because we did promise that we would provide feedback on what the final language looked like and where the funds are going to be allocated. So before we go into kind of some of the details of the bond board and some more of the special projects, this is kind of our master presentation. And then what we're going to do is, as we meet with specific focus groups or specific community groups, we actually break this down to make it specific to their group and add in some renderings that might be from projects that will impact them directly. We have met with the Senior Center. We did that last week. We met with Coalition for a Quality Community, which is a community group that meets here at Liberty once a month. We have scheduled all of our building level meetings. We will be very present at open house tomorrow evening at the elementary level and then secondary in a few weeks. We have about 30 hours of manpower at the community fair scheduled. We'll be right inside of the Merchant Building. And so Rotary today we connected with. So there's just a list of, I think we're up to 24 meetings that we're just going to be either hosting or attending to make sure that we're on track with the campaign trail.
Talk about once in a school generation opportunity, and what does that exactly mean? It means that we're coming to a point in time where we have retiring debt from previous bond issues happening at the same time that we have an increase in taxable value in Saline. That's allowing us to look at a future bond proposal that will actually reduce everything by 0.5 mils, meaning the tax rate will be going down while still being able to generate a very significant amount of money to better support the school districts moving forward. As we also looked into this, it's important to note that we have also done our homework as it relates to how much it costs for improvements to occur. That previously, 7 years back, 2015, we were looking at $225 a square foot to build and improve facilities. Now that cost is moving into the $500 to $600 per square foot for cost to do the same kind of work. So it does cost significantly more to be able to continue with these upgrades that we know are really important. And at the same time, our kids can't wait. We can't say that, well, we're going to wait for construction costs to go down. We need to keep moving forward so we're providing the best facilities for our students. As it relates to the financial picture, and this is a really important slide because this is what parents often care most about, and that is, what does it mean for me financially? So a real easy example would be if your home market value is $400,000, this would represent a decrease of $100 in your taxes moving forward. And this chart breaks it down a little bit better. It talks about what the current tax you would pay and what the proposed annual tax would be if the bond proposal was approved. And it does talk about the reduction, and we have certainly checked that through with our legal team and our financial people to make sure that this is accurate information. And so this is important because we'd still be able to generate significant amounts of funding and lower the tax rate all at the same time. In terms of a breakdown of how these funds would be spent, this is talks about the percentages that would take place at the various buildings. You can see that the middle school has the largest percentage at 34%, primarily because the most work needs to occur there. I mean, you think about what's already been done. We've for example, at Pleasant Ridge, we've had a significant upgrade at Pleasant Ridge, so it's not needing as much work. High school too, it's just a newer facility than the middle school, and we're still devoting 30% of the breakdown at the high school, but this just gives you a little bit of a bigger picture. You'll also notice that the transportation maintenance facility is at 12%. Part of the proposal includes moving the transportation center out of the middle school area to do a number of things. One, reduce the traffic footprint around that campus. Two, get it in a different spot so we could expand the senior center and also move a STEAM center facility into that space as well. So there would be a cost there, but we think that's a very good move for the future of the district. And so this just provides a breakdown. This is good. So this chart here, this graph talks a little bit about how much money is spent in the various areas. And so you start with new construction between $20 and $40 million, remodeling in between $40 and $60 million. Contingency costs means the override. In other words, anytime you're doing construction projects, you do need to factor in, well, what if costs increase further over the course of the upcoming years? We need to make sure that we have some of those costs built in so that we can complete the jobs that we have scheduled within the bond proposal. You talk about instructional technology, just under $20 million. This one, loose furniture and equipment, does include furniture, but it also would include things like musical instrument cycle upgrades, because that is part of the bond proposal as well. It also talks about the bus replacement schedule that we've been working with Rex and his team for years now, in how we're bringing in new and used buses to replace the aging fleet. And his team's done a very good job of figuring out what that cycle needs to look like. Site work actually includes things like, breaking ground on various areas that we're digging and maintenance of that. That all connects to both the new construction and the remodeling. Site acquisition, that would be if the transportation center would move to a different location in Saline. We would have to acquire a land position there. And A&E costs, that's architecture and engineering costs. CM stands for our construction management team. And then issuance costs. There's a cost for borrowing the money and so forth as we move forward. So this just breaks all that down. Okay, in terms of the bond boards, Anna's going to talk about this.
I'll just talk about our kickoff. So on Friday of last week, we brought in all of our building level admin, principals, assistant principals, and did a little bond board kickoff. So each building received a specific bond board to their building, which highlights 3 different areas: facilities, future, that outlines exactly what's going to happen in that building. We provided them with an easel to take that back and put it in the place that makes the most sense in their building in terms of voter foot traffic. And then each school also received color copies of a couple different pamphlets that, again, are specific to their building, and just kind of tried to get our building level admin supplied with what they needed at that level when we can't be in every building every day. And then we also have a set here that we'll be able to take with us as we go on the road to meet with people. And we'll just run through them really quick.
And Anna and the team have done a very nice job of getting these organized, because they consistently look the same, so that people will be looking in the same areas on the bond boards for various information. So if you start on the left side, it's talking about how much money is proposed to be spent at the specific building. This is the high school. Then it moves into the same statement about, it's $180 million in the bond proposal, the expected tax rate decrease of 0.5 mils. And then it does a little bit of mapping out within the building and shows, for example, at the high school, this is where an addition would be built, where it would be a new weight room, which would move the existing weight room that has some serious structural issues on the second floor of our high school, down into an area that also connects with a new STEAM facility, the science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics area, which would provide us with more space. It would provide a field here for, this is mapped out to look at what robotics might look like in a robotics competition. And that again, these are renderings, meaning this is not exactly the design, but it's what it could look like as we move forward. Also, on this side of these bond boards, it's broken down into the 3 areas: for education, for facilities, and for the future. And so for the education piece, you're going to see things like STEAM labs and upgrades, new classroom and media center furniture. This particular building talks about a weight room addition. For facilities, we talk about intercom system for increased safety and security. The technology team and Jay Grossman has been working hard on a system that will take place in Formacast in all the buildings, that also we received a safety and security grant for back, but we need to complete those projects so that we have a much better way of locking down our facilities, making sure that we're communicating better in case of emergency. And Jay and his team are working hard on that. This would provide support for that. And then it talks about some of those, replacing flooring, roof replacement, cooling for our gym and our locker rooms. The high school doesn't have air conditioning, the high school gym does not have air conditioning. So this would add that upgrade. And then some athletic facility upgrades too, related to the pool and baseball and softball concession areas and so forth. And then we look into the future about instructional technology and replacing technology devices. We need to continue with that cycle. Just like we replace buses, we need to be always replacing our technology so that our students have access to more cutting edge equipment. So that's the high school. Then when we keep rolling through these, I'm not going to spend as much time on each board, but the middle school does have some specifics that are unique to this area. We already talked about the STEAM center moving into, along with an expanded senior center, where transportation would get moved out of. We also look at an addition of some of the athletic facility that would be housed between Liberty, this building, and the middle school, where we would redo the footprint of Crabtree Field, additional softball, baseball, lacrosse, soccer facilities, new tennis courts that really need to be removed. They're becoming unsafe. And that would help not only with our own athletic programs through the school district, but also the community usage we think would be really valuable as well. And then some other additional upgrades, parking lot, redoing the site. The way in which people are coming into the middle school is certainly an issue. You see it backed up. You move the transportation center out, you open up some space, you redo some of the way that site works with parking and so forth, and we think we'll be in a much better position. Moving with Heritage, you start to see at Heritage, this is adding on to some additional classrooms and a STEAM facility. So we think that's exciting. You also start to see at the elementary level that this is where we are redoing our playgrounds for greater accessibility, making sure that all of our students have access to equipment, whether it's students that use walkers, wheelchairs, or whatnot, that everybody has greater access. That's important at our elementary buildings, and we're working towards that. And then again, you start to see that upgrades with technology, the STEAM, the additional furniture and equipment for media centers. Harvest. With Harvest, it's not an addition, it's an upgrade to have better position to offer a STEAM area. And that was deemed to be not necessary to do an addition at a Harvest, but that we would meet the needs by doing that way. And again, you're into things such as eventually you're replacing the roof, flooring, the boilers. All those things need to be continued to be upgraded. And again, the playgrounds. Same thing with Pleasant Ridge, an expansion now, an addition to provide STEAM lab spaces at Pleasant Ridge, which we feel very good about. And a nice connection was that one of our teachers at Pleasant Ridge helped spark the need for more handicap accessible playground equipment, and wrote a grant in conjunction with the Foundation for Saline Area Schools to start that process, and that's underway. And then the idea would be, with the bond proposal, to take that to a whole new level and do that on all our elementary playgrounds. Woodland, with a similar footprint of an addition to provide a STEAM lab, along with those flooring areas and the playground and so forth, along with the instructional technology. And Liberty, a building that we've already done a lot of work on, needs less now because of all the upgrades and additions that we've put in. But this still would look at what are we doing with the cafeteria here. I know Ms. Melcher, who uses it on a regular basis with our alternative education program, would like to see some upgrades there. And then safety and security, heating and cooling upgrades. And then again, it's that replacement of devices and technology upgrades. This is just a closer look at the senior center. It's blown up in terms of the expansion, but this talks about, are we putting some pickleball courts in the wellness area there? And what it would look to do a remodel. You obviously have the STEAM area that would be going in, and again, that only takes shape if the transportation center is moved out. And then Anna's going to talk a little bit about the individual projects.
Okay, Dr. Lotch touched on a lot of those details, but some of these renderings that you're going to see are just came out today, so it's a first look for all of you, and just kind of highlight some of the bigger projects that he listed within the individual buildings. This is a rendering of the off-site transportation center. So, like we mentioned, it's obviously a more eco-friendly place for buildings and grounds transportation to live and thrive. again, getting them off of the Liberty campus does a handful of things. A majority of our projects that are at the middle school and at the Liberty Athletic Complex all depend on this moving. So it was a lot of, if this happens, then we can do this. Safety, obviously, with getting the buses off of campus. And then our hope is that the drop-off and pickup system will work a lot more smoothly with some of the buildings that we have on campus. This is an aerial of the Liberty Athletic Complex. So I'm directionally impaired, so I'm going to tell you that the Crabtree Field gets moved right next to the middle school. Beyond that are two full-size soccer, lacrosse, field hockey fields that we were able to use. Like Dr. Lotch mentioned, our tennis courts are not usable right now, so that puts in a whole new set of tennis courts. And then closest to Liberty over there, there's a replacement of what was a varsity-size baseball field, a varsity softball field, and then a handful of youth fields. So it becomes a place where not only our middle school and community ed programs can really thrive, but it's a community space. It's not pictured in this rendering, but there's a walking path that goes around the entire thing. And obviously it's really neat when, for any of you who have been to athletic events that are surrounded by great playgrounds, they're able to utilize some of those new playgrounds at Heritage and Woodland when they are on site. And it long-term hopefully is something that we can utilize for revenue for the district. This is a rendering again from the front side of the high school. The building with the glass would be the weight room, and then beyond that is the STEAM center. And they put this together on the inside of the weight room again, like Dr. Lotch mentioned. The current weight room sits on the second floor. Not only is it too small for the amount of student athletes that we have coming in and out, it's also becoming not a safety issue, but it's starting to not work well with the foundation, and we need to find a different place for it. And a couple renderings of the inside of a STEAM space. And again, that STEAM center in the high school is right off of that side of the gym. And they will be able to utilize it during the day as classroom space, hopefully, and then be able to have a really nice competition space for all of the things that our STEAM groups are able to do. Technology, again, like Dr. Lotch mentioned, I think we want to obviously keep up with the standard within all of our classrooms and make sure that all of our young 5 through 3rd grade buildings, every classroom looks the same in terms of what technology capabilities that every teacher is able to use. Long term, all that device replacement will be a part of this as well. And then playgrounds at all of our schools, we want to make sure that those are inclusive and are well kept for not only the students during the day, but our community as well.
Questions, comments? I have one or two. Yeah, Michael, go ahead.
Let's start with the easy one. I have been asked this question already in looking at the Crabtree. If you want to go back to the Crabtree,
sure.
Ben, parking. Let's say we have an active evening of soccer, baseball, softball, whatever. Do we have a plan for parking, or is that going to be absorbed by the school buses that are
so
there?
They didn't do a good job with parking on this rendering, but from the discussions that we have, this becomes a lot of parking over here. There's actually we talked about a smaller lot going along T-Balt, and then some of this section over here closest to Liberty will be utilized for parking. So we definitely talked a lot about parking, and then maybe some of this space. It just didn't come up in this rendering, but yes.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. That's very helpful that it's been considered. It's not, somebody threw it at me as a kind of a gotcha question, and I didn't care for that because I know that we're on it. The other question was Let's Talk. Somebody had come across the Let's Talk somehow. It doesn't seem to be right at the top of our webpage. Is it going to be more prominently placed in the next few weeks, or?
Let's Talk is in the specific bond Let's Talk, or Let's Talk in general?
Sorry, in the specific bond one, when you have,
Yeah, I mean, we put the bond page on as a floating badge on the main site. So if you just go to Saline Schools, the bond is the first thing that pops up. And so if you click on that, that's okay. Yeah, maybe I'll change the color.
I had a few. I'll dig in. The first thing I wanted to do is thank the voters from the 2015 bond as we complete the really important work at Saline Middle School, especially in these last few years with school shootings. I'm so pleased that passed, especially around secure vestibules when we were at Pleasant Ridge. So I just wanted to thank the voters for that. I heard a lot of themes, the one that kind of screamed at me the most was safety. So I just want to hit on a couple of things. Steve is right. The main gym at the high school does not have air, but it's not just that. The wrestling room doesn't have it. The strength and conditioning room doesn't have it, and the gymnastics room doesn't have it. So it's a concern, and it's troublesome for our student athletes, I think, and our visitors. What's that? And people want to prop we were talking about that the other day. People want to prop the doors open, and then that's not safe. So really glad to hear that that is included in here. Our transportation friends moving and alleviating some of the bottlenecks that we see on Maple Road would be very, very welcome for a lot of middle school families and everyone in the community that has to drive by there. I am sure I'm not alone, especially with other middle school parents. And Laura, I see you in there, and she knows so many near misses that I've seen on Maple Road. So really grateful for that as well, and the intercoms and the other safety equipment. So thank you for paying attention to safety always. The other thing that I wanted to ask about, I grabbed the little brochures on the way in. So I wanted to ask about community members who might not have children in the schools, right? I know that you mailed out the kind of financial update, and that was really nice to see going to our community members who might not necessarily be in our buildings and are able to see these. Mm-hmm. Are these being mailed to people in our community? Can you talk a little bit about the marketing plan for people who might be alumni families or not have had children in the district?
Sure. So plug for Allegra Printing over by the high school. We've been working with them, and they have been turning things so quickly for us. We will have a series of 3 different 6.5 by 11 postcards that are scheduled to go out to the entire community. Allegra and I worked with the post office to make sure that we could map out exactly what our school boundary looked like. Both businesses and residential addresses are included, so I think it's upwards of 13,000 addresses will receive all 3 of the 6.5 by 11 postcards. One is scheduled to go out the week before absentee, mid-campaign, and then right before the election date. And they will have all the information that you've seen.
Right, and I know you mentioned open houses and other things where we have families, we have SAS families. Another idea would be events like Oktoberfest and partnering with our city and townships, just to kind of get everybody out there. Having been at the Summerfest, I know how heavily attended it was, so maybe Oktoberfest would be something similar. And I just wanted to point out this financial piece again, because I've read some comments on social media, and I've had questions, like I'm sure other trustees have had, about quote, is this going to raise my taxes? I think particularly in these times coming into an endemic, being respectful of the financial impact that has occurred to a lot of families in this community and everywhere. Appreciate you highlighting the decrease and continuing to illustrate what that means financially for Saline area schools, community members. I think that that's incredibly important to show.
I'll also add that we feel that is something we also learned from the survey that we did with the EPIC MRA survey. The families, are feeling some strain with the pandemic and the financial, that everything costs more. And we're recognizing that, and we're trying to be sensitive to make that adjustment, to have it be a decrease in the millage rate, so that we would make that adjustment. The other thing I wanted to back up and talk a little bit, you mentioned the transportation center. It's also important, and I know I mentioned this at the last board meeting, but we really need bus drivers. We need, we want to be able to safely transport our students to and from school. Rex and his team have been working really hard on that. We also need to be sensitive to provide them with, better conditions, better, safer buses, making sure that they're being supported, because that also we anticipate is being a draw. We want to maintain our bus fleet and provide our students with great buses and a facility that also reflects our commitment to transporting students. So we do think that's an important move.
Yeah, good point. Any other comments? Yeah, Candace.
Yeah, just a quick one. So President Stem had mentioned that the mentioned the cost decrease overall in terms of taxes, and I think that's important to mention, but also I was thinking, as you were talking about the increase in costs, construction costs and things like that, something that I've seen floating around as well related to the bond is that what we're getting for the amount for the 150 million is less than what we got the last time around. So, I think it's clear in terms of cost increases, et cetera, but just communicating that regularly so that they don't feel like, where's all this money going, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the public feedback that I've gotten kind of stems, I think, from maybe it's because I'm older too, but the way that public funding for education has shifted in the last, like in my lifetime, and how the need for bonds is different than maybe it was in the past. Some questions that I've had are things like, well, is the school not budgeting well enough to maintain what they have? And so then why do we have to come in with these bonds periodically to support ongoing facility development? And I think that is something that is kind of weighing on people too. And so I think one of the things that might be helpful would be to talk about how we are being such good stewards of the things that we have and how we maintain those things. And I'm thinking specifically of Rex and his team and how our buildings and facilities are maintained to a degree that the longevity of those buildings and those structures is long-term, much longer term than if we didn't have a team like Rex. But I think that people wonder, like, well, why do we have to come back and do this again? And I think highlighting those changes and those needs, like, for example, in the last bond, when we were kids, there wasn't maybe as big of a need for those safety things, like, for example, moving the Pleasant Ridge office. That became something that was dire, that we needed to do that to maintain the safety of that building. So I just wonder if maybe we can talk a little bit about why the district or why school districts in Michigan have to come back to the public, every 5 to 10 years for these funds.
Yeah, I can talk about that. That's a good question. It's a little bit complex in that there are really two primary ways in which school districts can raise revenue. Primarily, it's through the per pupil expenditure that we get, what we call the general fund. And so for each student, that has increased some and is at around $9,100 per student. So you take that by the number of students in the district, and that creates the general fund. Now, what we feel is a real compelling statistic that we're proud of is that we're in the upper 10% of all school districts in Michigan in terms of instructional support. And 83% of that is teacher salary, benefits, retirement costs, because we feel like it is so important to attract really great teachers that we have. We want to provide as much instructional support out of the general fund as possible. But then the great thing about potentially using bond funds to do things like upgrade buildings, replace roofs, boilers, and so forth, is we don't have to touch the general fund as much to do those needed repairs and upgrades. And the other thing that we're proud of as well is that we're in the lowest 10% on administrative salaries, because we really have strategically chosen to put more money into the instructional program than the vast majority of districts in Michigan, primarily because our residents have recognized the value of supporting bonding as another way to support schools, so you don't have to go out of the general fund. That's a little long-winded answer, but that's where we're at.
Any other questions or comments?
I was just going to say, I am also really proud of the amount of general fund dollars that go directly toward academics and student learning. And I think that that is a piece that we can really highlight as a point of pride for the district. And then another point of pride being the support from our community that allows us to maintain such excellence in our facilities and in our offerings that we have for those students. So thank you.
Yeah, and I'll echo that real quick about, like, you're right, we want to maintain our talent, we want to retain our talent, and if we want to do that, then bond dollars allow us to have that relief off of our general fund, because we'd have to pay for roofs, we'd have to pay for boilers, we'd have to do these things to maintain our buildings anyway. And so every dollar that we don't have to spend, you know, is another dollar can go into classrooms, and that's where I want. So, thanks.
All right. Oh, yeah.
Can I say just one more thing? I think the other thing too is that just to keep in mind is that these renderings are gorgeous. They look like I want to be active on that Crabtree renovation. I want to walk there. I want my my neighbors and family members to enjoy the STEAM additions and all of those pieces. And I just think that they can be really exciting, but they also might appear to be a little bit flashy. And so I think one thing to keep in mind is that we're not going to ask for funds to do anything subpar, that we are going to, you know, use those dollars to maximize the benefit for our community and for our students. So while I think like sometimes people look at those renderings and they're like, well, yeah, that would be nice, but we also are being good stewards of that money so that we can do those incredible things.
Great, thank you very much. And I know this will be highlighted on our agenda for some time as we continue to get updates about how things are going. Moving on to number 9, we have one action item this evening. I'd like to please entertain a motion to approve the minutes from July 12th, 2022, closed session for the purpose of discussion under section 8A and 8K. So if we could have the motion on the table, and then we will follow our procedure per OMA. Secretary Jones will pass out the minutes, 5 copies tonight. We'll take just a moment to read those privately to ourselves. She'll collect those, make sure she has 5 copies back, and if approved, those will go in a sealed envelope to Betty Yankee whenever she's ready. Motion first, yeah.
I would like to make a motion to approve the minutes and let's see, the minutes from our July 12th closed session.
Support, Kirby.
All right, Brad, thank you. All right. Candace, whenever you're ready, we'll pass that out and then see if there are any questions or discussion and then vote. All right. If you're done reading, if you can pass these into Candace whenever you're done. Thank you. All right, any questions or discussion on those? All right, seeing none, we'll move to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Administration updates, Dr. Latch.
Thank you. And President Stebbin at the very beginning of the agenda had me down for superintendent's message, and I had that in my mind that I was doing that during admin comments. So here is the superintendent's message along with my admin comments. It's primarily that just I'm very excited for the start of the next school year. We've just had a really good summer in terms of a lot of hard work done by our staff to get to this point where we're really ready and eager to welcome back students. I also wanted to highlight 4 key areas that I think are really critical moving forward for our district. The first one is, this piece about academic rigor centered around the SAS compass and the idea that, Mr. Bose brought up the point that, we have high test scores in our AP classes and we do really well. We want to make sure that we are continuing with that academic excellence. We saw some significant gains in early literacy scores last year, still with really strong AP scores, and we just want to maintain all that while excelling as well. But we still want to center it around the compass. I mean, we talk about the idea that we want students to be lifelong learners, we want them to be contributing in society, collaborative, communicative, and so forth. And we want to make sure that we're embedding all those skills so that by the time they do graduate, they're really ready for whatever their next steps are. So that's one of the keys, the first key. The second is creating this culture of equity. For me, it's simple. We want all our students to feel that they are part of the school district and that they see themselves in the curriculum. This is a key that we've talked a lot about, and we want to continue with that moving forward into this school year. The third piece is this civility and unity, that part. We've talked a little bit about the Saline bridge to civility. We've been doing some professional development with our staff around that, but this idea that we as a community, our community members, our students, our staff, we can all do better about having some tough conversations and things that we may not agree with and finding that common ground that unites us. And that's going to be an important step moving forward. And then finally, the fourth key is improving SAS for the future. We talk about this bond proposal and the idea that we need to be building for what's happening next for our students. That's going to be a key moving forward as well. So really going to be focused on those 4 keys moving forward, and we're excited about the direction of the district. A couple other thank yous too. I want to thank everyone for attending the ice cream social. That was by far the biggest turnout we've ever had. Anna and Cheryl Haft in particular did an excellent job coordinating that, but the overwhelming number of students and parents and guardians there said something to me. It said that we're all ready for the start of the school year. We're excited about it, and we're glad to be back together again. And it felt good being there the other day. Also, we got our athletic season started, and that's exciting. And then tomorrow is our opening day for staff. And so we're excited to welcome back the 600 plus employees. And I know that Assistant Superintendent Ellis in particular has been so swamped this summer because there has been so much hiring. And that's a lot of work to onboard staff, but we're excited to get going. The hiring process continues. But with that said, we're just eager to go. That's it.
All right, thank you. See, that would have been great up
Right,
front,
that's my
too.
superintendent's message and admin comments all blended into one.
No, it's good at the end or it's good at the beginning. Either way, it is very exciting. I totally agree. Any board comments?
Indeed. I just wanted to pile on a thank you very much to Anna Britnell and everyone who helped make that ice cream social such a success. And I do have 2 other things to say before I go to the most important part. Several of us attended the MASB legal workshop where we covered a number of the hot issues resulting from some recent Supreme Court cases. Very informative, and I know that a board president, Stebbin, passed around some of those materials. Thank you very much for doing that. Also, I wanted to thank everyone from the NHS, National Health. Different NHS, National Honor Society, sorry, it's British, for running the blood drive. I'm past the 20 gallons now and still going strong. I'm enjoying that. And they were great. They were fantastic. And every year they do this. And I do want to say, here's the most important thing. The school, for those of you who, for some reason, didn't read the Saline Post or the National Press, the school board crushed the administrators and city council. Okay, we barely squeaked a win pass with a second tiebreaker word, and that word is, and first of all, there's no wagering involved with that, but we all, and for those of you who didn't know, all of us lost. We missed millennial. I'll never misspell millennial again. Millennium, okay, millennial. We just said double N. The winning word was tourniquet, and look that up in your Funkin' Wagnalls, is what they used to say, right? And laughing. But here's a facsimile of the trophy that we will host for second year in a row. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh, thank you. Oh, bring it down then. No, it's a facsimile. We don't want to damage it.
I may have put the year on it in fingernail polish.
I guess my point is this: we had a heck of a lot of fun. The community had a lot of fun. It was great to see everybody out, and thank you all again, once again, Anna, for running that, and whoever was behind the microphone and ringing the bells to get us to the appropriate things, Kurt. But really, once again, 2 years in a row, it's ours to lose now, board. Thank you. No pressure.
I don't know who wants to follow that, but Brad, you're going to take a stab at it?
I'll do my best. The only person who crushed anybody in anything yesterday was Rex at Cornhole. He's quite excellent. Anyway, but I also want to reiterate my thanks for the ice cream social. It was a lot of fun, and there were a lot of people out there, and it really was a lot of community members and a lot of staff and a lot of just people all coming together because we love our schools, love our community, and it was a ton of fun. I had a great time. I'm glad I was out there. So, Stuff the Bus, what a cool event that was, and connecting to Miss Saline. You know, I see so much connecting, and you're going to hear me say that in a second more about, but just that was a great event, and it was even bigger this year than it was the year before. So who knows where that event goes, and but Paul Heineck had a big part in that, and a number of other people, and so I want to make sure that goes noticed. Orientation. There were a lot of orientations and things associated with the start of school. I know that my 9th grader experienced Link Crew, my 6th, the web program. I know that different students were coming in and getting schedules and taking tours. And our staff and our admins and our people, they really go above and beyond to meet our students' needs. And those things really show up when you see the care and the amount of above and beyond that they go to. And so I want to thank you for those things. They don't just happen. And so I'm really proud of our school district. I'm really happy with those things. The message we heard earlier, for me, was all about togetherness and synergy. I saw our administrative team, our EA, our ESP. They talked about parents. We've talked in this meeting about bus drivers and cafeteria, and every single person who has a part in our students' lives really makes a difference. And so I want you to hear from me to you as we start a new school year that I thank you for that, and I'm appreciative of it as a parent, as a board member, as a person who just lives here and loves Saline. So that's that. And then the last thing I will say is a little bit deeper. Gun storage and gun violence, important issues to me. And I want to implore us to take proactive actions to keep these things on our mind, to keep these things where we are having conversations about it. And I will tell you, as a board person, it is important to me that we do that. And so I'm asking that we continue to do that. I think it's really important that we listen to our stakeholders. So I'm asking that, our leaders, our admin team, our staff, our families continue to have these conversations about what we want to best do and about our best paths for resolutions or whatever it might be, so that our actions as a board can represent what we want, what our community and what our staff says we should do, I guess that's what I'd be interested in knowing. So I want to make sure that I say that out loud. Those are important to me, and those are conversations that I'm thankful that we're having, and I'm sad that we're having. I'll flat out say that, but I think it's important for us to do it. So, thank you. Have a great night.
I can't really add more than what you just said, other than I am impressed with the partnerships that were highlighted in the documentation that they sent us. The partnership with the Michigan State Police, American Academy of Pediatrics, just some of those groups that have weighed in that are experts in safety and experts in kids. So I agree and echo what Brad said. So a couple of things, speaking of connections, I also noted that, a few meetings ago, we talked about the need to have the Bridge for Civility, not just be the talks around the Bridge to Civility, not to just be things that are happening at school. And I have noted that there have been some references on social media from other organizations, and I just really applaud people for taking that into action and moving that forward in our community. And it just gave me a lot of hope and optimism to see that happening. So I wanted to note that and to thank people for continuing to bring that up as a conduit for conversations that need to happen. I want to give a special thank you to our facilities people, because as I've been moving through buildings in our community, just noting over the summer, things are busy, and we've seen the work that you're doing to keep buildings clean and to work on the landscaping so that when our kiddos arrive on the first day of school, they're arriving to a place that looks good and feels good and is safe. So I just want to applaud Rex and his crew. I can't say it enough. The work that I see that your group is doing is why our schools can look brand new when they're 20 plus years old. So thank you for that. I also wanted to thank, you mentioned Webb and Link, but we know that these buildings have been buzzing all summer long, and especially the last couple of weeks. So thank you to people who have been an integral part of planning teacher professional development opportunities, Link crew, Webb, and sports, all the things that are helpful as we're ramping up for the school year. Those things are noted too. And a special note about Link crew. I know that Link and Webb are for our 6th graders and 9th graders as they're making those transitions, but those leaders, those upperclassmen who are leading those kiddos that are coming into those buildings for the first time, I don't know who has more fun. My kids were Link crew leaders this year, and the amount of joy and the enthusiasm that they have now going back into the school year is contagious. So thank you to the leaders and to the staff who really facilitate and bring that joy that can then be contagious for our students. And finally, I've been back for a couple of days. Our staff had some flex days like you all had options for earlier this year. So yesterday was a flex day. Today we were back at it. So I am going into tomorrow thinking of everyone here as they're kicking off their school year and having their first day tomorrow. And I want to just wish a special welcome back to our teachers, to our students, to our administrators, to everyone who maybe hasn't been in the buildings in a couple of weeks. The energy that happens when we have that welcome back day and everyone is coming together, I think at the high school in the Commons area. Middle school, thank you. Middle school is just, there is a vibration of excitement, and it just really, I just feel the joy and the enthusiasm and the excitement around learning that happens at this time of year. In fact, we know that oftentimes when people leave and retire, that they have to plan something special to do because they miss this time of year. So they have to move away from from the reminders that they're missing this because it's special. So thank you to everyone. Welcome back. Special shout out to Interim Director Kevin Musson for stepping in and filling a very, very vital and important role for our students. So that is exciting that we have someone who can really take the reins and support our kids and families. So thank you.
Okay, we've covered almost everything, but but I did want to mention the Saline Parents Against Racism had a gathering this weekend, and it was excellent. Really nice to see everyone in person, and just really grateful for the work that they're doing in the community to really support families of Black students within the district, but also supporting all students and really making sure that that Saline area schools is a safe place to be. So while there is a lot of excitement and buzzing for the school year, there are also some families that are feeling some anxiety and concern about, what may arise this year as it relates to comments that may be made or things like that. So it's nice to know that that group is available to provide support, and also that Saline Area Schools is really making a commitment for this to be a safe space, for diversity, equity, and inclusion to be a priority. So happy to see all that is moving forward, and that there are support groups out there for our families. That's it.
Thank you. And Candace, the DEIAC is accepting application, right?
Yes.
If you want to say something about that.
Yes, the DEI Advisory Committee is accepting applications still. Thank you. They are due by September 30th, I believe. I have the date right? Okay, great. And there are 6 spaces available, is that right? Yes. So we welcome anyone who is passionate about diversity, equity, and inclusion to be a part of that advisory committee. Thanks.
When you said SPAR, it made me think of that. You all have said a lot of great things, so I won't reiterate anything. I want to build off a couple. Allison Doran, or Allie Doran, she's deciding what her professional name will be. I've checked in with her. She was one of our Link crew leaders up at the high school, and it was really great to see those student leaders and how they welcomed the 9th graders. So I was really, really pleased to see that. I completely agree with Steve about the ice cream social. People are excited to come back, and people are excited to be together. And I hate to use the word normal. I don't want to jinx us, but this year feels really, really good. And to Brad's comment on the Stuff the Bus, 2,500 pounds of school supplies. I came up here on Saturday to see some of those distributed, and I got to see kids packing their own backpacks and have smiles, and that was really, really great. I look forward to being at Saline Middle tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. to welcome the staff back on behalf of the board, and thank you for everything that you do. You are the foundation of the school district, and as our friends from the unions had said, you are taking care of our most precious assets, so thank you very much. Moving on to our consent agenda, the following are offered as part of the consent agenda. The motion noted will allow for the authorization of all listed items without discussion unless a member of the board requests that any one or all be considered individually. These items will not be read aloud, but will continue to be listed out individually in the minutes for this meeting. I'd like to please entertain a motion and move to authorize the following listed items on the agenda as part of the consent agenda.
So moved, McVeigh.
Michael, thank you.
Support, Jones.
Candace, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. Items scheduled on our next agenda.
Right, we have a Meet the New Hires report, and Assistant Superintendent Ellis will lead that, and then also a Teaching and Learning update led by Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, Kara Davis.
All right, thank you. It is our second opportunity for public comment. No forums, so acknowledging no public comment for our second period this evening. Our next meeting of the Board of Education will be held on September 13th, 2022 here at 6:30 p.m. I'd like to now please entertain a motion to adjourn the Board of Education meeting of August 23rd, 2022 at 7:49 p.m.
So moved.
Jenny, thank you.
Second.
Support. Oh.
I was like, you guys don't want to leave at 7:42?
I'm enjoying it here so much.
I know. Brad, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.